freedom.
Hello, friends. Welcome to my channel. My name is Socrates. I'm Greek, 37 years old, and I live in the beautiful city of Thessaloniki by the Aegean Sea. People often ask if I'm related to the ancient philosopher Socrates. Well, we do have something in common. We both spend a lot of time questioning things. He questioned the meaning of life, and I question why avocados cost so much. I'm part of the F.I.R.E, Movement Financial Independence, Retire Early, which means I've been living the dream, no work, just travel, family time, and reading biographies of famous people. And let me tell you, it's a real challenge explaining to my mom that reading about Warren Buffett is my job now. My story and inspiration. I retired at 34, and that doesn't mean I get a state pension or any social benefits. It means that about half of my monthly income from investments in American stocks, dividends, buybacks, growth stocks, bonds, etc., completely covers all my financial needs. I don't have to wake up early every morning and go to work. I mean, I could finally say goodbye to Monday blues and hello to Monday snooze. On top of that, I already own my own home, have a personal car, a mirrorless semi-professional camera, and I visited over 40 countries as a traveler. That's right, I've seen more of the world than my mom's seen of her soap operas. Why do I mention only half of my monthly income? Because I don't withdraw the other half from my brokerage account. I keep reinvesting it every month to make sure my portfolio keeps growing and stays ahead of inflation. Think of it like planting money trees and refusing to eat the fruit until you've got a whole orchard. Today I want to share my story with you and tell you about the one person who inspired me on this path. Spoiler alert, it's not Batman, but he's just as much of a hero to me. The example of Warren Buffett. About 17 years ago, I discovered Warren Buffett, one of the most famous and successful investors in the world. His modesty, practicality, and dislike of extravagance inspired me. He became my example of how to live without succumbing to the temptations of constant consumption, overconsumption, and heavy indebtedness. Seriously, the guy lives in the same house he bought in 1958. Talk about vintage chic. Before I learned about Buffett, I often made emotional purchases. I chased after bigger houses through mortgages, newer, faster, and bigger cars, the latest phones and cameras, and dreamed of buying fashionable branded clothes. Basically, I was playing financial Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. But his example helped me realize that none of these things bring true happiness and satisfaction. Now, I rarely use subscriptions to paid internet services and don't try to prove anything to anyone. My house is quite small, just 2 bedrooms. My car is not a luxury brand. It's a regular Toyota without surround cameras or a fancy Mark Levinson sound system. My phone is 4 years old, my laptop is 5 years old, and my camera is 6 years old. I never fly business class, don't rush to buy the new iPhone right after it comes out, and so on. I guess you could say I've become the antithesis of a tech influencer. Buffett's wisdom on spending and saving. Buffett often says, "Do not save what is left after spending, instead spend what is left after saving." This principle became important to me. I started saving money and investing it instead of spending it on unnecessary things, which may seem necessary but actually are not. After all, every extra $1,000 spent on something unnecessary today is $27,193 in 20 years. Yeah, that's right. Your impulse buy today could be a luxury vacation tomorrow. Don't believe it? Before you is the simplest example of compound interest. We take $1,000 and reinvest it for 20 years at 18% annually. By the way, nearly 18% annually is my average return over the years while I was accumulating my capital. Today, my result is about the same. But remember, I withdraw half of the profits from my brokerage account. Kind of like a financial mullet. Business in the front, party in the back. So, back to the hypothetical $1,000. It might seem that $1,000 spent today on something unnecessary is just $1,000, but we've already established that the alternative cost of such an emotional purchase is $27,393 in 20 years. By the way, for Warren Buffett, it's not 27,393s, but significantly more, as Mr. Buffett manages to generate over 20% annually. In his case, $1,000 in 20 years equals about $45,000. Yes, you heard right. The difference between 18% per year and 21% per year is only about 16%, but the final result is almost twice as much. It's like the difference between a pizza with 16 slices and one with 32 slices. You're still eating too much, but it feels way more impressive. Understanding emotional purchases. Oh, I forgot to explain what an emotional purchase is. Let me explain it with a vivid example once given by Nobel laureate in economics and behavioral economics specialist Richard Thaler. So a hypothetical can of soda in a supermarket costs roughly $1. But the same can of soda in the minibar of a five-star hotel with a stunning ocean view can easily cost $20. And someone will buy that can. This is the simplest example of an emotional purchase. It's like paying $19 for the privilege of drinking soda while feeling like a millionaire. Or another example. I go to buy beer for tonight's party and am sure that I need, say, 10 cans, but I come across a promotion where if I buy a whole case of 20 cans, I'll get 4 cans for free. Is it profitable? Conditionally, yes, but 10 cans would have been enough for me. It's like getting 4 extra cans as a reward for being a sucker. Every time before spending an extra dollar, I ask myself, what will it be worth in 20 years? Because that $1 might just grow up to be 27,393s if you give it enough time and love. No, don't get me wrong, I'm not against expensive purchases if they're justified. For example, if someone earns over $500,000 a year, then why can't they afford a Porsche? They absolutely can. I mean, if you're making that kind of money, buying a luxury car isn't exactly going to break the bank. It's more like throwing a pebble into a lake and watching it create a splash. It's all about balancing your financial goals with your lifestyle choices. If you're raking in the big bucks and you've got your finances in order, then splurging on a Porsche is just a matter of priorities. Just remember, it's not about whether you can afford it, but whether it's in line with your overall financial strategy. After all, even the most disciplined investor needs to enjoy the ride occasionally. It's precisely because of this approach, along with investments yielding almost 18% annually and my disciplined pursuit of my goal, that I retired at 34. And do you know who taught me this? You won't believe it. I learned this from Warren Buffett's example. It's like having a financial Yoda minus the green skin and cryptic speech patterns. Have you seen the graph that shows how Warren Buffett's wealth has grown throughout his life? It's basically an exponential curve. Simple and straightforward exponential growth. At 30 years old, his net worth was around $7 million. By the time he was 60, it had skyrocketed to approximately $3.8 billion. And when he hit 90, his wealth was a staggering $104 billion. That's not just impressive, it's like watching your savings account go from zero to superhero status. The exponential nature of Buffett's wealth growth shows just how powerful compound interest and disciplined investing can be. It's like planting a small tree and with time and patience, watching it turn into a giant redwood. The key takeaway? Start early, stay disciplined, and let your investments do the heavy lifting. It's the closest thing to financial magic you'll ever see. Warren Buffett and the F.I.R.E. movement. I'm absolutely certain that Mr. Buffett probably doesn't even realize that he's, in a way, a role model for many people in the F.I.R.E. movement. I mean, it's like discovering that your favorite chef is also a top nutritionist. Surprise! Buffett started investing early. He's disciplined, modest, frugal, and practical. He embodies many of the core principles that F.I.R.E. enthusiasts strive for. It's almost poetic. While we're all busy obsessing over spreadsheets and savings plans, Buffett's out there living the dream without even knowing he's leading the charge. Warren Buffett is renowned for his appreciation of life's simple joys. He finds deep satisfaction in reading a good book and cherishing time spent with his family. Imagine his idea of a perfect weekend, not extravagant getaways, but cozy moments with loved ones, maybe discussing a good book over a cup of coffee. It's these quiet, meaningful experiences that truly enrich his life. He once said, "Life is too short to spend it doing work you don't enjoy." This captures his approach perfectly. Money is just a tool for him, not the ultimate goal. Think of it like using a hammer to hang a cherished family photo. The hammer isn't the focus. It's simply a means to an end. For Buffett, the real value lies in living a life filled with passion and simple pleasures. Buffett also underscores the importance of long-term planning and patience. He wisely noted, "The most important quality for an investor is temperament, not intellect." You need a nature that doesn't enjoy following the crowd or being repelled by it. This sentiment aligns beautifully with the F.I.R.E. philosophy, where careful planning and steadfastness are vital. He treasures the time spent with his family and uses his wealth to enhance these precious moments rather than chasing material goods. For Buffett, money means more free time to enjoy with those he loves, not working around the clock. It's as if he's discovered the perfect balance between financial freedom and a life full of meaningful, heartfelt experiences. Many of Warren Buffett's principles align perfectly with the F.I.R.E. movement. He's been all about financial freedom and independence for years, kind of like he's mastered the secret recipe for smart money management. Buffett is famously modest and practical. He still lives in the house he bought in 1958 for $31,500. Yes, you heard that right. A house that probably cost less than a month's rent in a high-end city. Buffett quips, "The most expensive thing you can do is buy something you don't need." It's like he's saying, save your money for something important, like a lifetime supply of socks. His cars? They're not flashy sports models, they're reliable, like your favorite old pair of jeans. Despite his wealth, he avoids splurging on new expensive toys, proving that even billionaires can appreciate the art of thriftiness. Buffett also steers clear of trading on margin. He treats debt like an overcooked steak, best avoided. He famously said, "If you are smart or at least disciplined, you can make a lot of money without borrowed money." It's like he's the financial equivalent of that friend who always says, "I'm saving for something big," while the rest of us are just trying to make ends meet. He's also got a no-nonsense view on overconsumption. Buffett thinks a lot of people buy things they don't need just to impress others or follow the latest fads. He wisely warns, if you buy things you don't need, soon you'll have to sell things you do need. This resonates with F.I.R.E. principles, which advocate for mindful spending and chasing financial independence rather than chasing after the latest trend. Commercial break. All right, folks, it's time for a quick commercial break. Now, I don't have any products to sell unless you count the concept of living your best life, which, let's be honest, is a pretty hard sell these days. But what I do have is a hot travel tip for you, Greece. Yep, come to Greece. Just a quick heads up. Avoid July and August unless you enjoy melting into a puddle or joining the annual "How many tourists can fit on a beach?" competition. Greece is a land of stunning mountains, mouth-watering food, and islands that look like they were drawn by a master artist. The sea? It's so warm it practically begs you to dive in. We're talking temperatures up to 30 degrees Celsius, so you can leave your wetsuit at home, unless you're a polar bear, in which case do come, we need the diversity. Plus, Greece is way more affordable than places like France. So, if you've ever wanted to experience paradise without having to sell your kidney, Greece is your spot. All right, back to our regular programming. Thanks for indulging my travel pitch. Now, let's get back to the financial fun. Principles of F.I.R.E. and how they work. All right, let's dive into the principles of F.I.R.E. and how they can help you achieve financial independence. Here are the key steps I followed. 1. Cutting expenses. The first step is to analyze and cut all unnecessary expenses. Think about what truly brings you joy and utility, and what you can live without. Like, do you really need a $7 latte every morning? Or is it just a pricey way to wake up? 2. Creating a budget. It's crucial to create an effective budget to help you control your income and expenses. A budget is like a diet for your wallet. Stick to it, and you might just fit into those financially secure genes. 3. Savings and investments. Start by building an emergency fund that covers 3-6 months of expenses, then move on to investing. Investing grows your capital and helps you achieve financial independence. You don't need to hit a consistent 20% annual return. A solid 17-18% will do just fine. The key is long-term investment. I've proven to myself that it works. Just like those TV infomercials that swear you can get ripped in 30 days, but this actually delivers. And here's a crucial quote from Buffett. This one's practically tattooed on my brain. Do not save what is left after spending. Instead, spend what is left after saving. F.I.R.E. Avoiding debt. Avoid unnecessary debts and loans. Pay with cash or use debit cards to control your spending. Buffett's rules. Rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, never forget rule number 1. So basically, live like your grandma. If you can't pay for it up front, you can't afford it. 5. Long-term planning. Plan your finances for the long haul. Set goals and work towards them. Buffett said, "You don't need to be a rocket scientist. Investing is not a game where the guy with the 160 IQ beats the guy with the 130 IQ. So, don't worry if you can't calculate your IQ off the top of your head. Just stick to the plan and you'll be fine." And there you have it, folks. Follow these steps. Keep Buffett's wisdom close to your heart, and soon you might just find yourself living the dream. Or at least not living paycheck to paycheck, which is basically the same thing. Let me give you another example of how discipline and patience really pay off. On August 5th, 2024, there was a massive crash in many stock markets. The Japanese market dropped over 13%. They even had to halt trading. Cryptocurrencies plummeted more than 10%, and so on. The U.S. stock market lost nearly $2 trillion within the first 15 minutes of trading. Nvidia was down more than 10%, Apple fell 7%, and Microsoft almost 5%. It was like watching a financial horror movie, only without the popcorn and fun. But for disciplined investors, like us in the F.I.R.E. movement, it was just another day in the office. Let's take a cue from Warren Buffett. Just before this crash, it was revealed that in Q2, he had been actively selling his positions in Apple and Bank of America. By the end of June 2024, he had nearly $300 billion in cash and other highly liquid assets. That's almost a third of his total assets under management. Why? Discipline. It's like the financial version of having a secret stash of cookies. You never know when you might need them. If you see the yield curve inverting, GDP slowing down for several months, unemployment rising, and initial jobless claims showing an upward trend, you've got to hold some cash. It's like a financial law or something. It doesn't mean you sell everything in a panic. No, but if a recession is looming, not holding any cash is just undisciplined. You've got to go into partial risk off mode. So, what was actually happening on that fateful Monday, August 5th? It was just another typical day where panic beat reason. According to a Charles Schwab report in June and July 2024, private investors were the ones buying stocks on the U.S. market, while big players like Buffett were selling. I guess private investors were feeling a bit like kids in a candy store. buying up everything without realizing the sugar crash coming later. Does this sound familiar? Private investors often buy at the peaks out of greed and lack of discipline, and then sell in a panic at low prices. Then they complain that the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. But really, it's all about staying cool-headed. It's like watching people at an all-you-can-eat buffet. You don't have to eat everything just because it's there. So how did I behave on that infamous Monday, August 5th, 2024? I simply bought a few stocks at very good prices within the first hour after the market opened. But I didn't go on a shopping spree. I still have cash on hand. I'm prepared for a recession if it comes. And if it doesn't, earning 5.33% annual interest on my cash balance suits me just fine. It's still above inflation. Besides, I can always use that cash for something important, like more cookies. In short, even in a panic, you shouldn't rush to buy everything. After every low, there might be an even lower low. You have to be disciplined and keep a cool head. That's why I love F.I.R.E. It's like the perfect recipe. A little bit of savings, a pinch of investing, and a whole lot of patience. Outro and call to action. But before we wrap up, I've got a little teaser for you. In the next episode, we're diving into how institutional investors really make their money and why they often do the exact opposite of what individual investors are doing. We'll also talk about how the upcoming Fed rate cut expected in September 2024 is already shaking things up and why everyone's so hyped about it. Plus, we'll explore what risk-on and risk-off modes are. Spoiler alert, they're not the latest dance moves on TikTok, and what this whole forever investing strategy is all about. And of course, we'll try to predict how the market will behave once the rate-cutting cycle begins. All of this and more. Trust me, it's going to be both informative and a lot of fun. As a wise investor once told me, a Fed rate cut is like Black Friday. Everyone's waiting for it, but only the pros know how to score the real deals without regrets. Oh, and mark your calendars because my new video will be out in a week. So hit that like button, ring the bell, and get ready for the next video. It's going to be more than just educational, it's going to be a blast. Woo! See you in the next episode, and remember, investing is a marathon, not a sprint. Until then, sending you sunny vibes from Greece.
Bye bye.